ever worried that you might be the cool kid? You wear the latest fashions on top of all the trends. Or have you ever worried you were too much in the mainstream? Always so generic, more normal than your friends. Well, we've devised a test to put to rest your fears. There's no need to panic if you lend us your ears. Tonight you can't sleep easy after all that you've heard. Cause if you like the show, then you're probably a nerd. Oh, Canon, it's Canon, it's all. With Tyler, Phil, and Boris. So Canon, it's Canon, it's all in Canon.
Hey everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of the It's Canon podcast, the podcast where we talk about everything geek, the podcast where we talk about everything pop culture. It's the It's Canon podcasts. We're your hosts. I'm Boris, and as always, I am joined by Phil.
Good day, kind sir, and to all of our listeners out there.
Yep. How's it going?
Good, man. Good. You know, it's we've graduated from the weekend. It's Monday, and yeah, excited to be recording a show.
Yep.
Unlike you record a show like every second day.
Yeah, it kind of feels like it.
Good job, man. Keep up the good work.
Yeah. So, how was your week? How was your weekend? How's Phil?
You know what? I'm doing all right. Weekend's good. Rounding out my second week with my second dose.
Yep.
So I guess I can start re-engaging with life a little bit in a safe way.
Yep.
Made the classic mistake of walking into Walmart the other day and I completely forgot my mask. And I was like, I'm an idiot. Like, nobody said anything to me, to their credit, because I'd be like, you don't know. God. And I was so embarrassed. I walked out, got my mask, came back in.
Yeah.
Because it was like one inhale and I'm like, this is different. What's wrong? You know what I mean? I'm not smelling my own terrible breath. So I was just like, oh, I was so worried about what I'm going to get and where I need to go in the store. I got so preoccupied that it just didn't dawn on me to put the mask on. And I didn't have it in my pocket or anything because that's unsanitary. But yeah, you know what? Watching TV, playing video games.
Nice.
You know, what's a guy supposed to do, right? Like, I watched a terrible movie this week.
Yeah.
It was brutal.
Which one was that?
Yeah, I had to turn it off. Okay, when I look at the title, it makes me think I was watching sci-fi porn or something.
All right.
It's one of those shameful titles that I should have known better. But it was on Netflix, and it was called Cosmic Sin.
Right.
And this stars Bruce Willis.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy from The Crow, or I don't know, it's Bruce Willis anyhow. So I turned it on. It wasn't as terrible as that other one I watched on Amazon with Bruce, but it was pretty bad. Like, Bruce Willis does not want to be on set. That was my big takeaway. Like, this isn't him acting like an asshole. This is him being an asshole. And I just, I asked the question in the chat. I got an answer from Tyler. And it just doesn't seem like that guy's doing anything but collecting money and making movies that he just needs to do the bare minimum on.
Look at
and
Nicolas
he's looking
Cage,
old
right?
too. Yeah, but Nicolas Cage is doing stuff. I know he overdid things, but I heard on his latest movie that it's actually quite compelling.
Yeah, but the point is, like, especially now in the age of streaming and content, you can go in and out in a few weeks, film a whole movie, call it a day, right? Like, that's the thing. So, someone like a Bruce Willis is really taking advantage of that. Look at Anthony Mackie.
Yeah, but again, quality.
No, but still, like, point is, and
look
at the Anthony Mackie movies. They're not much better than what you watched.
I would argue that they had better plot and
I would argue
that
no, they're
like,
same level.
This is a sci-fi. Maybe it's on the same level financially production wise, but it's just when you do sci-fi bad, it's bad. You know what I mean? Like it's you can take an urban scenario and you basically make it look like the city you want to make it look like. You can do little things to make it more authentic.
Hmm.
Whereas if you take science fiction, it's like, the little snicker that I give whenever I watch the movie Alien and they have hockey gloves.
Yeah.
That was futuristic to them at the time because nobody really paid attention to hockey. But here in Canada, we're like, they're wearing hockey gloves. Like that isn't an astronaut suit. That's hockey gloves. And it's just that kind of thing where I'm like, it just sat wrong with me. I'm going to try and finish it because there was an attempt at a story, but it was just so poorly written. They're like, he's exiled and he's like, you're just exiling me because I used a Q bomb. And then they're like, well, we need you. We've come in contact with aliens. And he goes, get the Q bomb ready.
Right.
So I'm like, I know the end of this movie and I've still got an hour and a half left.
Yeah.
And then everyone's like, are we allowed to make the Q bomb? Is this a test and all this? And it's just so terrible. It's like porn. You know what I mean? I'm like, geez. And I don't know that it's going to have any good space fucking. You know what I mean?
Yep. I know exactly
It's
what
just
you mean.
disappointing. Yeah. It's just a misfire. And that's, I guess, tagging your name onto it as a star like Bruce Willis. I'm an old school guy. And the hallmark of at least an entertaining film would be that Bruce Willis was in it. Like Die Hard, any of them, like Armageddon, like, you know what I mean? Like there's so many movies that he did and you're like, whether you liked it or not, he brought something to it. And now I just feel like he's just angry. He's just like, all right, is my time done?
Yeah.
I'm contractually, I got to get out of here type thing.
Yeah.
So I'm sure there's going to be a fun story for me to uncover with it. Maybe it becomes better. I got to give it another shot, but
doubt it, but sure.
I doubt it. I'm pretty good at reading these things, and that's about that. But other than that, it's been a fun little PS5 vacation and just trying to get onto the other side of this. What have you been up to?
Work, man. It's been super busy, which is fine, but just a lot of work. Weekend, went to the TFC game. My dad really wanted to go, so I ended up going with him. A lot of fun. They did a great job of physical distancing outside of the south end, which I kind of appreciate. And yeah, it was a fun little experience, It was just kind of like, it was cool being back. But I admired how many people respected physical distancing and lineups and things like that.
That's excellent to hear because I don't know. I'm conflicted about it, like we were talking about. I'm conflicted because I just feel like that experience is going to be so changed that it's not going to feel like coming home. You know what I mean?
When you're there, it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah. Oh, I'm. You know what? There's going to be a moment there. I will be going back. I will be jumping back in both feet. And I look forward to it. I'm glad that it was a success. I'm curious to know how Wednesday night's game goes with double that crowd and how that experience is.
That's the one thing I'm concerned about because the lineups to get in. And it's not that they were doing any COVID checks. It's just that people didn't have their tickets ready on their phone or they were taking forever because of the airport style lineups, which is no different than MLB or some of the other sports like NFL now, right? Like, like people should be used to this. But the lineups did take forever. But I will give them credit for, within 10 minutes of the game starting, everyone was inside. And because I was at the corner and I could see kind of like gate 3 and gate 3B, which tend to be some of the busier gates. They were completely empty. The other thing that I noticed is that, they were being very strict on which gate you were assigned, right? So, which is good. Ooh. But overall, yeah, we'll see. Wednesday will be interesting in terms of, like you said, double the amount of people. But overall, like I said, people were very respectful. For the most part, people wore their masks when they were walking around the stadium, but at their seats, a lot of people had them off. That was the one faux pas. But outside of that, whatever.
Yeah, I saw on some of the video that it looked. I was like, is this pre or post pandemic? Because there's masks and then there's no masks and stuff. But yeah, it definitely looked like a good time. I'm glad everybody was safe and got to experience it. I look forward to getting back there. Yeah, it's just going to be, it's weird. And I know that they're enforcing this clear bag policy like the NFL does, which could be part of the issue too, because
Yep.
I don't know. They tried to telegraph that out. It's tough.
It's hard.
It's
The turnaround for this game was crazy, right? And
and
on a good day, people don't read emails and read what you're supposed to be ready, right? So
yeah, it's a tough communication piece. So I hope, and as well, you know what? Every year, first game of the year is always crap.
Yep.
Right? We used to say it all the time as executives, where we're like, everybody comes out with the highest amount of criticality, where they're like, the chance sucked and this didn't happen right, and there's zones are off and all this. And I found that people were always hard on themselves, and I also found that it's the first game back for staff. Some of the staff manning the gates, it's their first time ever.
Especially now,
working
right?
in a
Because
game.
I don't know how
Yeah.
MLSE handled layoffs and whatnot. I think because of union, it was different. But still, a lot of these people, this is their first time ever doing this.
Yeah, and we always have to break them in, right? By the middle of the season, your experience is way different than the beginning of the season, because they start recognizing the fans and they start realizing where we belong
Yeah.
and that we can manage ourselves.
Yeah.
And things like that. So it's good that it's back. Congratulations to Toronto FC. Congratulations to all the supporter groups and the fans and all the frontline workers that were there and first responders. And as well, you know what? Congrats to the actual team and Josie Altidore for getting all of his stuff sorted out, because that was becoming a major distraction.
Yeah, big time.
And I'm glad that he got that goal, because that was a very meaningful
as soon as
goal. That is
as soon
up
as he
there
was
with
coming
Danny
on,
Dickey.
I turned to my dad. I'm like, he's gonna score.
Yeah, that's up there with Danny Dickio's goal for me.
Yeah.
That is like the goal that won the MLS Cup that he scored, and then that one just had a lot of significance, right? So good on him. Good on him, and good on the team for getting past all that stuff, because I know it can't be easy.
Yeah, exactly. But overall good time. Sticking with soccer, it comes out this Friday, Phil.
Uh-oh. What?
Ted Lasso Season 2, Episode 1.
Oh, yes! Oh, I'm excited. And I heard it doesn't suck.
Yeah.
Like
The
they said,
reviews
they've
are coming
avoided
in.
the sophomore. Yeah, they avoided the sophomore curse.
Yeah, our buddy said that exactly. He said he went into the first 10 minutes unsure what to expect because of the sophomore curse, but he was quickly convinced that this season will be just as good as the last.
Awesome. I am excited about that. I was a little late to that train last year, and what an absolute joy season 1 was. And you don't have to be a soccer fan. It's a good show.
Exactly. That's the thing. In fact, you might appreciate the sport a little more if you're not a fan.
Mm-hmm. And even, some of the great stuff that's happened as well over the off season of the show has been the MLS embracing it and really getting it, letting the Ted Lasso character into different tweets for different teams and things like that. And I'm looking forward to maybe an advertising campaign that incorporates the MLS a little bit and whatnot, because it's a perfect union. It really is. And I just think Jason Sudeikis does such a great job with that character. And it's endearing. It really is like a bit of a softy show.
Yep.
But terribly entertaining. I just can't get enough of it. I've actually watched the first season again, just in getting, warmed up for season 2. Because there's a lot coming out this week, because we got He-Man as well coming out. And it's just like, wow, I love Apple strategy being the weekly. I love the Netflix strategy of dropping the whole damn thing. You can't lose as a as a viewer right now. You're gonna get it every which way. So
Yeah.
it's great. And we have that, announcement as well by Loki at the end that there's going to be a season 2
Yep.
of Loki.
Not too shocked about that, but that's really good news. I really we'll talk about it later, but yeah, good stuff there.
Yeah. I was actually at the grocery store tonight and talking to one of the clerks about it. So I have some actual on the ground feedback about how that season went over.
Yep. Cool. All right, so let's talk movies. Space Jam is number 1. It made $31.7 million domestically. Black Widow is number 2, $26.3 million.
Seen some complaints about Black Widow's.
That's
weak.
Just shut up. Hey, calm down. Calm down. Let's talk about this first.
Space Jam.
Yeah, Space Jam. Have you seen it?
No, I have not. I've noticed that number 1, I guess you can buy it digitally.
Well, remember it's a WB, so it's on HBO Max. So there was one of those weird releases in the States.
I thought I saw something where you could buy it here in Canada. I'll check my sources to see if maybe, because I have heard mixed things about it. One of the things I have heard. Have you seen it?
Yeah.
Oh my God. You didn't go to the movie theater, did you? Good. I've heard that the humor is a little bit above the intended age group.
Possibly.
So there's jokes in it where they're like, there's a Matrix joke. Like the CBC review of it is like, this is a really funny scene. However, we don't know how many kids are going to get it because how many kids have seen The Matrix?
Okay. Let's take a step back. Number 1, rewatch the first one. First one had a lot of intelligent humor. Any kids movie has intelligent humor. Watch Shrek. Like let's. Yep. People want to hate this movie. There's 2 reasons why people want to hate this movie. People have an obvious issue with LeBron James. Whatever. Number 2, people want to compare it to the first one, and. Like, if it was a straight-up redo of the first one, people would be tearing this apart. So I think they did a smart thing, changed it up a little bit, and you get your smart humor, as I'm going to call it, your adult humor, and it's not a bad watch. Like it's a long movie. It's a long movie. I'll tell you that. It's about 2 hours.
Wow.
Yeah, for a kids movie, that's pretty long. Like, I was expecting it to be in the 90-minute. No, it's closer to 120. I think it's 116 total runtime. But,
that's what you just described is what I was hoping for and what I've seen some people say. That they found that there was some areas that could have fallen apart completely, but ended up working.
Yeah.
And there is adult humor in it, which is, I'm just saying it missed the mark for the kids, but like you say, lots of stuff is aimed at adults in these things because if you got to bring the troop of kids to the theater, why not try to entertain the parents?
Look, Phil,
as well.
This is who this movie was aimed for. People around my age who watched the first one and now have kids.
Good. I hope it continues its path, its successful run.
Yeah.
Because I like movies like that are a little bit out there.
Look,
right? They're animated, they're action, they're.
Yeah. It's not the best movie. It's not even better than the first, but it stands on its own, and it's a valiant effort. Considering that the star is not an actor whatsoever.
Mm-hmm. I like LeBron. Okay, well, wasn't he in a Trainwreck?
Yeah, but for a second.
Oh, more than a second. Come on, 2 seconds.
Yeah, but
it was a John Cena movie too. Come on.
But so let's talk about Black Widow. And movie theaters are getting all butthurt because of Black Widow's success and release strategy. Boo fucking who.
Exactly. I'm like reading it going, you idiots.
So, for our listeners, essentially what's happening is that a lot of movie theater chains are upset at Disney because of the release strategy of it being a simulcast both in theaters and on Disney Plus premium access. So they feel that they got the short change and they're being essentially robbed by Disney of the full profits of Black Widow. Again, boo freaking who. You know, we're still in the middle of a pandemic. Let's start there, you know?
Yeah. Like, let's look at it. They've had a rough go. All right. We all acknowledge that. But you don't need to pull out the fucking violins the first week back in business. You know what I mean? Big release. I guess Fast and Furious 9, but I'm even talking in the context of Canada type thing.
Mhm.
I just find that it's very stupid to come out and start complaining like this when we're in such a state of flux after getting through a catastrophe, a worldwide catastrophe, and the world's not out of it. You know what I mean? Like this is the new reality in a lot of ways. Like look at how other companies are doing the same thing about the simulcast or the dual release kind of strategy because they realize that there's revenue opportunities there within. And the people who want to go to the movie theater are still going to go to the movie theater, but
Mhm.
forcing everybody to enjoy a piece of media in one way after basically showing the world that you can be way more agile with it is just like, I don't know, it's leaving money on the table. $60 million was spent on getting that thing into your home. That's a pretty high entrance fee, and
Mhm.
people gladly paid it. And
Exactly.
Disney got the money. And you know, these guys didn't get their cut of it, and that's what they're crying about.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And here's the other thing. You know that movie theater chains are going to be complaining up until they get closed down. Because I'm sorry, but if you have this archaic business model that hasn't changed in 100+ years, you know, what do you expect is going to happen?
Mhm. Exactly. They just want to sell $10 popcorn that costs them 15 cents.
Exactly.
Like, I don't know. Like, it's just so funny because you see the rest of the world, they're sending out like the cops on all kinds of different businesses that look like they're profiteering off of things, right? But nobody looks at the 100-year-old business that's completely bending you over
Yep.
for that 100 years. You know, like how to take a product that costs literally pennies, pop and popcorn, and turn it into a $25 purchase at the movie theater. I that was a tough time. Like, hey, I love the popcorn at the movie theater. It's part of the experience. You smell that stuff and you're like, yes, right? But there's no way that that popcorn machine costs $50 billion.
Yep.
It ain't
Exactly.
a McDonald's ice cream machine, man.
Exactly. Yep,
Oh,
that's exactly
jeez.
it. So it's like, I don't know. I think this is just the beginning of the bitching and the moaning from the movie
Yes.
theater chains, and it's just like whatever. I feel no nothing, no nothing up to them. Change your
Yeah.
business model. Get used to it. I'm sorry. I don't know what else to tell you.
Yeah, because you know they're gonna complain about Dune because it
Hmm.
finally got acknowledged today that Dune's gonna be on HBO Max as well as in the theaters, same day, you know, like same day. So they started, you know, wavering on that front. They announced it, then they said, "Well, hang on, we're gonna go talk to Villeneuve and all these people about it," because apparently there was gripiness going on. But today they made it formally announced. And you know that the movie theaters are just gonna play the same game. This
Hmm.
is gonna be I just hope that it sticks. I just hope that the new way to release a movie is to give people options. Like, we know for sure they're shortening that time, right? So, we know for sure the contracts have changed to the point where they're going to be quicker on getting them onto streaming services and whatnot, but I just love this dual world that we're living in right now because I get options that make me feel safer. And it's not a fear thing. It's just I hate going to the movie theater.
Hmm.
You know, for financial reasons or just I'm not a big fan of crowded spaces. And there's one thing that really drives me nuts and I don't know, maybe some listeners will be able to relate to this. And that is I don't like hearing people eat. I don't even like hearing myself eat.
Mhm.
I don't like the sounds. I don't like the lips. I don't like the licks. I don't like the smacks. I don't like the mouth. Ugh. Sound is gross. And this whole trend towards serving food in the movie theater and having it delivered to your seat and everything is just disgusting because people are just wolfing down something that's not meant to be consumed in a dark theater. And I can't stand it. I really can't. It drives me nuts. Because here I am trying to watch, let's say, A Quiet Place 2. No sound except. Oh, God. Disgusting. Go outside, eat your food, come back, watch a movie. It's not hard to do. It's called being an adult. There's my old man moment for you, Boris.
That's all right. Whatever.
Doesn't bother you?
It bothers me, but whatever. People are going to be
I
idiots.
know you got to put up with it. I wouldn't never say anything, but
Yeah.
on here ranting,
No,
I
I know.
just don't like it.
I know.
Like go eat your chicken wings at the restaurant. It's
Yep.
really simple. Like $50
s-
chicken wings at Cineplex. Ugh.
Sticking with movies and whatnot, let's talk about this controversy outside of Roadrunner, the Anthony Bourdain documentary. Have you heard about this?
No, I haven't. You got me on this one.
All right, so the documentary about Anthony Bourdain was released last week, and it uses special software to recreate the late chef's voice. So there is parts of the movie where they use his voice that was created specifically for the movie using AI.
Icky. That is icky.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was tough with Princess Leia and Mark Hamill and
But that deepfake is one thing. Now,
Yeah.
completely recreating sentences that have never been spoken by this person and putting them in something.
That's where I feel really icky because you could make him say anything to make your documentary more authentic, right? Like if you're able to fake his voice and you're able to, have him pipe in to say something that might justify a controversial topic and
Yep.
convince people that that controversy is well founded because there's actual audio or remnant deep fake stuff of whether it be video or audio of him corroborating it in a documentary style. Entertainment's entertainment. I get it in a movie, but not in a documentary where you're trying to present a journalistic or, an expo something informed,
Mhm.
right? You're trying to make up a mind with a documentary. You're trying to educate, you're trying to inform your audience.
Yep.
And entertain them. Like it's a dual thing, and when it's done well, it's done well. But yeah, I don't like the idea of that. That sounds really well. I think I'm going to avoid that because I love Anthony Bourdain. I'd be, one of a person that would watch that if I saw it.
Yeah, here's the thing. I kind of want to watch it, but I don't want to support the filmmakers.
Yeah, that's exactly.
So, you know what I mean by that. But yeah, I am curious. I want to watch this, but it's kind of, now we're treading into very scary areas because let's take a look at this. The deepfakes are getting scarier and harder to tell. Now you have AI voices recreating people's voices. What's stopping from people wanting to do bad stuff?
Yeah, you can completely mislead an audience or a group. Like we all talk about it and it's dangerous, right? All this conspiracy stuff of just half-informed opinion that get exaggerated on social media and used as facts that aren't really facts. This would be another log on that fire of someone being able to deliberately manipulate an idea that isn't true and influence people to believe that it is. It's not good. To do it with Anthony Bourdain's voice, like if I was part of the estate of Anthony Bourdain, I would be like, where's my lawyers? Because, no matter how shallow the misrepresentation is, it's there. He never said that. That should be blaringly earmarked on the film whenever there's a voiceover of Anthony that's saying something that he never said, whether it be true or not. It should be right on the print of the movie, shown to the audience that this is fake audio, in yellow letters contrasting at the bottom or the top or all around the screen. I don't care. Like, the audience, if you're going to pull that kind of crap, then at least warn everybody every time you do it, if you're going to have any integrity at all.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And his ex-wife is not happy, so I can see stuff happening on a legal point of view. So we'll see what happens overall. But yeah, it's just getting to a scary level, right? Like that's my major takeaway between deepfakes and simulated AI voices. Like, what's to stop people from, creating, the next amazing political ad, right?
Yeah, exactly. You could have factions, like government factions, creating propaganda to destabilize regions of the world.
Exactly. This is no different. This is another example of government being behind, behind everything when it comes to adapting and creating laws. Like, people are going to go nuts with this stuff.
Yeah, and it's going to take legislators years, if not decades, to introduce a meaningful, enforceable bill. And by then, God knows what they're going to be doing. Like, where the technology goes, because we've seen it in the past 5 years advance, probably what other technologies have taken lifetimes to do. And it's to the point where you can just log onto a website and assemble a pretty powerful image of someone doing something that they never did, or video. It's becoming a service.
Yeah,
Gary.
It's something, right? All right. Something a little more lighthearted. Clerks 3 to start production in August. Super excited about that. Our listeners know that both of us are huge Kevin Smith fans.
Yep, and they announced today Lionsgate is doing the deal to distribute the movie.
Yep.
So what that means is we're all going to get to see it. It's not going to be like the last few Jay and Silent Bob movies where they've been independently released, and Kevin's had to struggle to get those movies out now that the Weinstein stuff has blown out, obviously.
Yes.
And he can't access that channel of distribution anymore and doesn't want to, quite frankly. So this is great news about Lionsgate today, too, because it sucks when Kevin makes a movie. It's worth at least watching, but you can't watch it. You know what I mean? Like, as a fan, it took me a while to hunt down some of the Blu-rays that I've recently hunted down.
Oh,
and some of them I had to buy directly from Kevin. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just like, this is absolutely ridiculous.
But at least he has that option, right? At least he recognizes this and makes it easy for his fans to buy stuff off of his store, and the money is going direct to him. So I have zero issue with that, to be honest. But you're right.
Oh no, it's great.
At the end of the day, it is still a bitch.
There is something to be said. As much as my rant stands about going to the movie theater and having an uncomfortable time due to crowds or circumstances, I will say there are certain movies that are made better by going to the movie theater. Mm-hmm. And those are movies like Clerks. And the Clerks 2 is absolutely hilarious to watch people react to the controversial stuff that's said on film. The Lord of the Rings disc tape, the whole thing is just hilarious. The Donkey Show, everything is just shocking at a certain point. Rosario Dawson.
Yep.
It's just, wow. And I can't wait to see Clerks 3 for that same type of stuff, the outrageous stuff. And, even to the point of the clerk-based hate.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? For the customer, the pure disdain of being in a service industry like that and being subject to people.
Yep.
Oh, that movie resonated with me more than any other movie, just because A, I used to work in a store in retail, and B, it talked about Star Wars. And it was the first movie I ever saw that talked about Star Wars the way that I would talk about Star Wars with my friends or want to talk about Star Wars with my friends.
Mhm.
So, I just think that movie resonated, and I think it said the F word more than any other movie to that point. I almost got an X rating for language,
Yeah, it
which I
did.
found,
It was very close.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, like when I'm like 18 years old, that's extremely attractive.
Mhm.
That's just like that film is quality.
Yep.
So
All right. It was a
that's
very slow news
exciting.
week, but probably the biggest news out of the video game world. It's kind of funny because we were talking about Nintendo's advantage and their grasp of and monopoly of the handheld portable system. So, the next couple days, Steam has announced the Steam Deck is Valve's answer to the Nintendo Switch. It's a portable PC with built-in controllers launching later this year.
Mm-hmm. And oh boy, does it ever look sexy.
Yeah, so there's a 64 gigabyte version for $399 American, 256 gigabyte version for $529 American, and a 512 gigabyte version for $649 American.
Yep. And they opened up pre-orders.
Yes,
the
and
pre-order,
apparently it
you
was
have
a
to put
shit show.
$5. Yeah, but
Yeah.
you have to put $5 down. So they're trying to get ahead of the mess that was the PS5
Mhm.
and the Xbox launch, right? They're trying to get money up front to verify and sort out that cluster mess of hoarding
Mhm.
and resale. So
Yep.
good on them for at least trying something, because it's way more than Sony or Microsoft bothered to do for its fans. I still can't find an Xbox Series anything, but oh well, woe is me.
Yep.
But this Steam Deck looks great because
Yep.
I'm a guy who has a PC. I use the PC for this and, making documents and things like that. It's not a bad PC, but it doesn't have a GPU that can run anything serious. When I look at these Steam Decks, especially at the price points that they're at, it makes PC gaming a lot more inviting to me, because I could plug that thing into a 4K monitor and have a half decent ray tracing experience from a handheld PC
Yeah.
that's just smartly built. So I'm all in on this thing. If I can get one, next year, I'm probably going to go for the middle of the line or the upper end of it, because when you start getting into these other versions, not only does the memory expand, but we start getting into NVMe, SSDs, and things like that. They start upgrading the speed
Yep.
of the components in it. So that, getting a middle of the line portable and having that flexibility is very appealing. I don't really particularly like gaming on a 7 or 8-inch screen. I can do it. I don't want to do it, but it's got a separately sold docking bay that you can pick up, but you can also just plug in a USB-C to HDMI cable and it's going to work.
Yep.
So I'm excited by it. I think that it's a smart move. We pointed it out, and it's been a gap that's existed for a while now since Sony retired the PS Vita. And I'm shocked because we kept on hearing rumors about Xbox wanting to get into this space. And I guess, Xbox has struggled. So I don't blame them for not wanting to jump into another hardware situation. But hey, just remember, this Christmas the fridges will be out.
Yep.
So
Because that's the priority of Microsoft. Let's slow down development on Halo and get those fridges out.
I know it drives me nuts, man, because they advertise the crap out of it on Twitter.
Mhm.
And I'm like, I'd love to go buy an Xbox Series S. I'd like to buy the shitty one, please. The one that's supposed to be everywhere and nobody wants it. Guess what?
Yep.
Nobody has it.
Exactly.
And I'm like, because I guess what comes out this month? Flight Simulator. What does it only play on? X and S.
Yep.
Now we're getting into this territory of you got to have an X or an S. So if Microsoft are going to command that all of its platformers develop for the X and S, sure, I'll grab the S because it's probably going to be a low use item for me. So I'll spend the $400 on it versus dropping another, $900 on a big box that's just going to sit on my shelf. But I'd like to be able to cross over and, enjoy some of the Xbox content for this show and for myself, right? So
Yep.
it's an interesting space, all this hardware race.
So-
I guess chips aren't as bad to get for these companies.
Who knows?
Well, it has to be released.
Yeah,
So.
exactly. So Steam Deck, going back to Steam Deck, comes preloaded with Steam OS, modified version of Linux, gives you an easy, straightforward user interface to browse select games from your Steam library. Because Valve has also emphasized that Steam Deck is at its core a PC, you'll be able to customize your experience similar to a PC. However, one of the biggest issues of some of the issue is with the incompatible games. So as of right now, some incompatible games, because they're not supported on Linux and Proton, it includes Apex Legends, Destiny 2, Rainbow Six Siege. However, it's entirely possible that support for these will come, and we'll see what kind of happens with that. So, it's because it is a Linux kernel at the core of it, you have to kind of think of those games that aren't compatible with Linux.
Yeah, and the only reason why you got to go with the Linux stuff is to keep the price point down and keep the power up.
Exactly.
Right? Like if you get into a Windows environment or anything like that, it's just garbage for memory management, and then you have
price,
to basically make this thing, cost $1,000 minimum USD in order to be able to intelligently use a game on it. So, yeah, I have no doubt that these companies see money, they will develop, they will adapt, and they will get it on there. Because if I'm not mistaken, some of Stadia runs on Linux type cores,
the back end.
So, yeah. So there's got to be a path to that. So don't fret too much, but be aware of it. As Boris has pointed out, you don't want to buy that thing and be all set to do a certain type of game and find out that it's incompatible. Do your research.
Yep, exactly. So yeah, looking at the news, that's pretty much, those are the big things worth chatting about.
I'll point out one thing.
Yep.
Ubisoft today announced a new game, free to play. And that's going to come to Stadia. It's a tactical shooter, Tom Clancy type thing. So that just got dropped a few minutes ago, or I guess an hour ago. And I see a lot of Stadians excited about it.
Yeah.
So you know what? Like, it seems like there's a lot of news to come out for the rest of this. Like, admittedly underhyped news because the EA stuff is coming out too, right? So Ubisoft continues its little dominance of space and name upping. So it's called free-to-play multiplayer shooter Tom Clancy's X Defiant. So it's meant to compete with those Apex Legends and all that. But it's the first one that's going to be on Stadia. So yay, we can play a Call of Duty type game on Stadia.
Yep, exactly. So yeah, let's talk about Bad Batch.
Good episode. Do you watch it?
No,
so you caught up?
Not yet. Huh?
Oh, okay.
No. I haven't watched it yet. I'm 2 episodes behind now.
Yeah, they finish up the arc.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not going to spoil it for anybody. I wasn't sure if they were really going to commit to it because the first episode didn't have much involvement of the Bad Batch in it. This one, it kind of works as a full hour episode, and they kind of have a little more action in the second half. But just like last week's, I really enjoy when Star Wars goes and fills out some of the back catalog. And even though we know, who could or would die, or you know what I mean, like Hera's obviously going to survive. So there's going to be some kind of resolution to the story. And it's kind of fun to see. I really like some of the backstory and exactly what we get off on, and that is the building of the Empire and how they're continuing to manipulate people and situations and show their true colors more and more. And we get into a little bit of a philosophical dilemma, an ideology questioning this week. So it's nothing earth shattering, but characters make choices, not necessarily the Bad Batch ones. So it's interesting because we're really forming, just as we're forming the Empire, we're forming the foundation or birth of the rebellion.
Yeah.
So, two stories, duality. Great.
Cool.
So
Very cool.
We're going to get, I guess the last 2 episodes are coming up, and it's probably going to be a showdown with Crosshair, right? Like they're heading towards some kind of climax. I don't know if it's going to be reconciliation or if it's just going to be further, doubt and peril. So we'll see.
Very cool. And then Loki, season finale. Pretty fun episode. Pretty basic episode, but it kind of did what it needed to do. What did you think of the episode?
The grocery store clerk thought it was really boring.
I knew, hey,
he was complaining.
It's a 50-50. It's a 50-50, but I think
I liked it.
Enough story.
Yeah, well, look, we've had 5 episodes of a lot of action.
That's exactly it.
2 of them didn't really even have any contextual sense to it, other than establishing the universe. The first 2, then the third one, we start to actually get into character development. You know what I mean? Like this is being a very plottish type trudge in an exciting to watch way. But as far as I'm looking at story element and advancement, it's not breaking, speed records here.
Yep.
And then you left it all to shoe into one episode at the end. So
yeah,
if you're paying attention to a story, this is like money for you because you finally get to understand what the actual hell is going on. But if you're the kind of person that got addicted to the action element of it, this is going to be a pretty boring show because there's a lot of sitting around and talking. So spoilers. All right. I'm going to put it in the notes. Spoilers. Because we got to talk about it. It was Kang all along.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of funny.
It's
like the first time that they actually, that's the first time that we were right.
But here's the funny thing, all right? You knew it was Kang.
Mm-hmm.
I knew it was Kang. All right? There was tells, obviously. And I'm just talking about even when he reveals himself to be Kang, he never says Kang.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, he's like, some people call me the Conqueror. And I'm like, Kang the Conqueror, that's you.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm like, all right, like the shit's out of the bag now. But none of my friends figured it out. They're like, who is this bad guy? And what does he stand for? And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, guys, this is like, Thanos level, beyond Thanos level as far as Marvel's concerned.
Yeah,
right.
The cosmic stuff.
This is
right?
a bad guy. Yeah, this is a bad guy that's on a really bad level. Like
Yep.
he out trumps a lot of stuff that's going on in the universe. The only thing that I can think of that's even more would be like Galacticus, or you know what I mean? Like we're getting into these really big, heavy, conceptual, villain-esque people. So yeah, it's good to see, and I like the twist that Kang's dead. He's going to be reincarnated, and he knows it, so he ultimately wins in the end, no matter what the outcome, which he revels in. And the fact is that we're going to now be dealing with variants of Kang coming into this timeline. So that sets up, if you're not aware, we knew this was the actor that was going to be playing Kang because he signed on to do Ant-Man 3, and Ant-Man 3's stated villain is Kang the Conqueror.
Exactly.
So, you know what I mean? Like, and he's going to be playing probably the biggest asshole Kang in Ant-Man 3 or in one of the Avengers, sew up a phase type movie a la Endgame, but probably not to that scale.
Yeah, like I said, this phase is a lot of micro stories, right? So
yeah. Well, if you look at the way they assembled the first few phases of the MCU, they finished without flourish. Like they just transitioned in the second phase, and it was just like, okay, second phase, we're going to thematically do this. And then it wasn't until the fourth phase that they actually got to that climax. So I expect that we're going to have, another build that'll take a few years and maybe be a little more disjointed.
Yep.
And that's okay.
But, one thing that the show firmly established was the multiverse. And I'm still interested to kind of understand and see and hear what average Joe Schmo, average Jill thinks about this multiverse.
I'm going to
stuff.
pull pretty hard into my groups, but we'd love to hear from you as well on our social about it. I'm curious. I think I'm more curious to see the future role of the TVA in the MCU.
Yep, exactly.
If there is one. And I'm curious to see, because this deviates from Tyler's point a little bit for me. Well, no, it does, because
and that's the thing. That's why I was a little shocked, because it wasn't just Tyler. It was it was something that you and I had talked about a lot of, and that's the fact that the TV stuff was going to kind of be on its own, but the Loki finale kind of created the new world, the new universe for the next few movies that we're going to watch, starting with Doctor Strange, the Multiverse of Madness. What's it called? Spider-Man, and because we know that that's going to be full of multiverse and variants. And then obviously Ant-Man 3, and now you have to question. It's like now, and it looks like Black Panther, there could be variants involved. So it's like, now it's like you can bring in characters that you thought were long gone. So the Abomination, for example, the Abomination that's in Shang-Chi, is that a variant of the original?
Yep. Now Pandora's box is wide open, but to Tyler's specific point, because I thought he was very concise about it, I think that there are ways to introduce elements of this in the movies that might not necessitate watching Loki.
Yep. Oh, for sure.
Now, do things get better watching Loki? Yeah. But do you have to watch Loki? I don't know. We'll see how they handle it. You know what I mean? Because Tyler's argument is that you fundamentally, if you watched Captain America 4, you wouldn't need to watch Falcon and the Winter Soldier to understand that Anthony Mackie is going to be Captain America. Because all we did in that show was take what happened at the end of Endgame, turn it into a story-driven arc, and then come up to a conclusion that he's Captain America in a bird outfit.
Yep.
Right? So if you see Anthony Mackie in a bird outfit, you're going to go, oh, Cap. Has a shield. He's Cap now. You know what I mean? Like that. Then you didn't have to watch a show. I think it's going to be tricky because the Loki stuff was fairly heady. That's why I couple it with the role of the TVA, because if you start seeing like orange doors opening up and people coming out in SWAT outfits with batons that make you disappear, I'm like, like, who the hell is that? What force are we dealing with here? Are they with Doctor Doom? I didn't know that we did that. You know what I mean? Like, you don't know what's going on if you're not paying attention to this other content. So
they're just setting the stage now for the possibility of mutants. They're also setting the stage with the possibility of the Fantastic Four always being there, because they could just be scientists from another Earth who get stuck in our Earth or something like that, right?
Well, you saw the introduction of Fantastic Four already.
Yeah,
it was in WandaVision, right?
Yeah, 4
astronauts have been lost.
Yeah.
So if that wasn't the biggest, like, and then the announcement from Disney's little soiree there where they premiered the logo for the Fantastic Four, I think that that's the right move. I know that there could be this push to just go all in on X-Men and everything, but taking the time to fix the mess that is Fantastic Four cinematically and paying the homage to the mutant verse.
Yep.
Like to that part of the MCU. Who was the first?
Here's the thing.
Fantastic Four, right?
Well, yes. So 2 things there. Fantastic Four, in my opinion, need to come first. Because from Fantastic Four, you're going to be getting Namor. Once you get Namor, the first mutant you can move on and tell a good story for the other ones.
Yeah, exactly. So it's all in good time, and Disney know they're just sitting on a mountain of money.
Yeah.
So, good on them. I hope they do it right. I hope that the fan base for Fantastic Four is absolutely huge, and it's a long lasting fan base. Just like for Captain America and things like that. These are long standing Marvel characters that earned a lot of respect from people in the comic book world. And I want to see a movie that's done right. Like, it's been frustrating to sit there and, I don't know, as someone who sits on the outside of it a little bit, and I keep on hearing about the Fantastic Four, and then I'm an idiot. I don't read the comic books, and then I go to the movie theater and I go, "What kind of train wreck was that? What kind of crap show was that?" And then you hear the stories about all the controversy in the back and production and things like that, and I'm like, oh man, this makes me lose hope. And then the X-Men movies progressively getting worse.
Yeah.
And things like that.
And hold on, let me clarify something. Yes, I know Apocalypse is the first mutant, and I know Selene was the first mutant.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean, comic-wise. Namor. Anyways, continue.
Yeah. And hey, look, there's exceptions and asterisks and back explanations and whatnot, but there are kickoff points, and Namor is one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, it's that simple, and Fantastic Four is one of them.
Yeah, that's my point. That's my point.
Yeah.
Is that Fantastic Four branches
mainstream
off to Namor, which branches off to X-Men. That's the point I'm trying to make.
And we finally get into some of these bigger villains or bigger universal characters like Silver Surfer and stuff like that. And Galactus, exactly.
Well, if you have Galactus and or Silver Surfer, you're going to get the other one, right? So,
yeah, and I'm excited about that because I'm like, if that's done well, that's amazing. You know what I mean? Like, I want to see that happen.
Essentially, Galactus is a Thanos level type of villain, right? So, you're going to need everyone to beat him.
It's again setting up another end game at another phase way down the road.
Exactly.
And they can outdo Endgame because that's going to be the game.
Yeah, that's the goal at some point, right? To outdo Endgame. Yeah. And really, in my opinion, the only one who can do that is with Galactus.
Yeah, like they want to sit there and make the box office record again. That's what this is all about. Is Disney trying to legitimize this genre of film and come out with the biggest pile of money that anyone's ever, like, that anybody would say is insane, right? And and they own Avatar now too.
Yeah. Yep.
It's just a crazy world, and I know we remark upon that a lot. So it's a crazy world we live in. Disney are absolutely scary massive, but they walk that line really well of not completely destroying some of these properties, and in fact, in some ways, making them an even broader appeal.
Yeah,
to people. So good on them.
All right, well,
as long as they keep on doing it well.
All right, well, we want to hear from you. Let us know what you thought of Loki, what you're thinking of the Bad Batch, and what you think of the other stuff that's happening in the world of geek and pop culture. And Phil, you can tell our listeners how they can get a hold of us.
Well, if you want to watch Cosmic Sin and let me know what you thought of it, you can hit us up at www.itscanonpodcast.com. You can track us down on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at It's Canon Podcast. You can email us at show@itscanonpodcast.com. You can subscribe via Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, anywhere you find podcasts. You're going to find the It's Canon Podcast. And if you like what you hear, make sure to recommend a friend to give it a listen as well. Click the subscribe. Leave a rate and review if at all possible on the platform. It greatly helps our show, and we appreciate your time and effort very, very much.
Yep. Thanks for that, Phil. And thank you, everyone else, for listening. Whether it's your first time or your 100th time, we really do appreciate it. Until next time, we are the podcast that talks about all things geek, the podcast that talks about all things pop culture. And Phil, do you know what the best part of it all is?
Some little troll person told me it's all in canon.
That's right, it's all in canon because that is the name of the show, the It's Canon Podcast. I'm Boris, he's Phil. Good night.